Hey guys, Ranger here, and welcome back to my very first episode of Diecast Review. Basically, a show where I will review new and somewhat, relatively new, maybe a little bit older, diecast and resin-made cars in different scales, and basically give an overall review of them. And so, with this episode, I'm going to be talking about the all-new, just released in 2017, Ghostbusters Ghostbusters 2 Twin Pack from Johnny Lightning. Now, there's a few things to talk about with this particular set, and in order for me to really show you this, I will have to show you these cars, which I had to get out of the box to really be able to give a good review on and a really good highlight. But as you can tell right now, there are a few really nice things about this, but I'm going to get this out of the box and give you an overall review of it. Now, the first thing we're going to talk about is the detail and realism. Now, overall, this looks like a really good, solid set. Now, don't worry, I did open this up out of the blister pack to be able to show it better, but don't worry, I did order another one so that I can keep one in the blister pack and the other one like this. But let's talk about this overall set. Now, first off, Johnny Lightning did release a twin pack like this before, probably around the late 90s, early 2000s, and the car itself, I'm going to show a picture of it here. The Ecto 1A looks very similar. The Ecto 1A here looks very similar to the one that Johnny Lightning released before. The difference, however, is the original car featured different wheels than this one right here does. This one right here features brand new wheels that Johnny Lightning has been doing for the past 2 or 3 years now. And the old one featured the old wheels and tires that Johnny Lightning was using at the time. Now, another difference, of course, is the police car, the NYPD car that Johnny Lightning used at the time, was a very inaccurate 1990 Ford Crown Vic. And Ghostbusters 2, you can check IMCDB, the Internet Movie Car Database. And as you can tell, the movie never featured a 90 Crown Vic. It featured the Monaco, the Diplomat, and cars like that from the 80s and the late 70s. And so this set here is brand new, just came out, and this one is a much more accurate representation of the actual set is a much more accurate representation of the movie itself. Now, we're going to talk about a few vehicles here. Now, first off, we have Ecto 1A, which is no doubt one of the star cars of this particular set. Now, we have Ecto 1A, which is no doubt one of the star cars of this particular set. Now, on Johnny Lightning's website, they said that they worked hard to make sure that they got everything accurate, including the number of LEDs on the roof. And as you can tell, like the movie itself, you have Ghostbusters on the right and For Hire on the left. And now you can't tell it here on this one. I will turn it around so you can see it on the other one. There are individual tiny LED lights placed around this right here. This isn't just paint. It's hard to make out, but these are actual individual LED lights. These are actual tiny LED dots representing the LED lights for this. Very nicely done. Now, another difference, of course, is the wheels are more accurate to that of the actual car. This time around, you have standard vented white standard vented chrome wheels, painted white, the white wheels, and you also have the accurate Baby Moon hubcaps, which is very, very nice. The original Ecto 1A that Johnny Lightning did before did not feature these. So this one is very much more accurate, very much more time period accurate. And this Ecto 1A really does look good. They got the lights accurate, the colors, and everything for the lights on the roof, the lights on the back, the LEDs, and they really did go the extra mile with this. Now, the one thing that I do notice right off the bat is I don't recall the car featuring white letters on the tires. This one does. It's not a huge issue. If you want, you can paint over it if you have black paint. So it's not a terrible issue. But overall, this really does look good. Now, the light bar itself is just more or less one solid clear piece, which is just painted 2 different colors. It's not 100% accurate to the two bars that was originally featured on the car, and the dish on the top is more or less just half of an oval cut out instead of an actual circle. So it's not 100% accurate in that regard, but again, it's not a terrible feature. Now, of course, it does not feature a spotlight here on the front fender, which is kind of okay, because the original police cars that Johnny Lightning did before featured a very bulky spotlight made onto the fender. I'd honestly rather it be like this and not have one, so you could add one if you wanted to, as opposed to actually having one that you could not get rid of. Now, the numbers are accurate, the paint's accurate, the car itself has that milky white appearance, and overall, it really does look good. The ghost detailing itself for the rear is also really, really well done. Featuring the ghost itself on the back, it's really, really replicated extraordinarily well. Overall, Ecto 1A really, really does look good. This really does look good for Ecto 1A. Now, the only nitpick that I actually have with this car is the slant in the hood. Now, you can't really tell it too much here, but the car does have an upward slant on the hood. It's more visible on this side, but you can kind of see it. For the front slopes down from the front to the windshield. It kind of slopes downward a little bit, and it's not a terrible thing, but it is a bit noticeable, as you can tell from here. Now, overall, it's not a terrible issue. It can be overlooked, but I do kind of wish that it was a bit more straighter. But overall, Ecto 1A does look really beautiful. Now, of course, Johnny Lightning's cars don't feature side view mirrors or anything like that, so unfortunately we don't have that. But overall, I'd have to say Ecto 1A does look really, really well done and detailed, and is no doubt the most realistic 1/64 scale replica of Ecto 1A that does exist. Now, the second car to talk about here is something also really cool, the 78 Monaco. Now, this particular one is done up in NYPD livery. And it's a replica of one of the ones used in the movie. Now, this looks pretty good for 1/64 scale. I'm very particular about car details and accuracy, and the Monaco is one of my most favorite police cars of all time. So whenever I first found out that Johnny Lightning was doing this one, I was really skeptical about it. Johnny Lightning has done these cars before in the past, and I'm going to show you some pictures of how this car looks before. The original cars that Johnny Lightning did not feature the appropriate grille. The grille was just black before. The grille was just solid black pieces. Here, it's actually painted with the appropriate grille pieces here to replicate the grille, which is really, really well done. It's really, really well done to replicate the egg crate grille. Another difference, this car actually features, it's kind of hard to make out, but the silver trim along the windows here, along the sides, front, and back. It is hard to make out here, but it is present. Another interesting detail is the rear tail lights. Now, the original cars that Johnny Lightning did before with the Monaco did not feature the realism that these cars had. I'll show you a picture here of what these cars originally looked like on the back. As you can tell, there was just simply the tail light piece and the park light piece. This time, Johnny Lightning did go the extra mile, or at least the extra several feet anyway, to replicate this. Now, a really interesting thing to take a look at here, which I will zoom in and show you, is the accurate tail light placement. Now again, it's a very tiny detail, but it looks good. With the Monaco here, this is accurate. You've got the tail lights, you've got the park lights, the reverse lights, and you've got the twin two silver lines which run through the tail lights. This is a very small feature, really small detail, but it is 100% accurate to the actual Monaco. And another feature that Johnny Lightning did with their other cars was the rear bumper guards. The rear bumper guards have not really been molded on any other variations before, but they are present. Now, they're not present on the front of the car. Johnny Lightning did not mold them on, but they did paint the front bumper to replicate the bumper guards on the front of the car. So, it's not too bad. It's a pretty nifty feature. Another really cool feature I particularly like about this is the Federal Aerodynamic light bar. Now, this was a light bar that was introduced back in 1977, and it became an extremely popular light bar. The Federal Aerodynamic pretty much replaced the Federal Twin Sonic bar. The reason being that the Twin Sonic was more boxy and was not as aerodynamic and made the vehicles heavier, kind of slower, had more drag, and kind of had a little bit more fuel consumption. The aerodynamic bar, as the name suggests, and as you can tell by the appearance, was a more aerodynamic version of that light bar. It was more aerodynamic for cars, and it became an extremely popular light bar throughout the 70s and 80s. And Johnny Lightning did do a great job replicating the NYPD's colors. The outer lenses are clear while the inner lenses are red. Another nifty feature on the front of the car is the speaker box, which you can tell is replicated very, very nicely on the front of the car. It's not present on the back, which is really, really accurate, because the car did not feature a speaker box on the back. Now, a really cool feature, it's kind of hard to make out, but this bar actually has a tiny replicated top piece going across the top. You can tell it's this little raised section here. This is accurate. The actual light bar did in fact have this piece, and I've never ever seen this replicated on any variation of this aerodynamic bar before in any scale size. This is the first time that I've ever seen this replicated before. I wish that this was featured on the model kit variations, but they did actually replicate it here, and it looks really, really well done. Now, following, of course, with the NYPD livery, the one nitpick that I have, I think this paint scheme is just a bit too dark as opposed to the NYPD's graphics. I think the blue should be just a smidgen lighter, but they did do a great job. The paint, the stripes and decals is 100% accurate. Most NYPD cars, some of them had the precinct here on the side, but this is supposed to be a movie car, so it's not really going to have the precinct here, but it does have the accuracy. Now, another really cool thing is the vented. You can't really tell it, but the wheels that's on this particular unit is the exact same. That was my cat. The wheels that's on this particular unit is the exact same ones as featured here on Ecto 1A, but they're painted black, and you've got similar looking dog dish hubcaps, which was very common for the Monaco and Fury back in 77 and 78, which was a very popular hubcap throughout the 70s and 80s actually. Now these are not 100% accurate to the dog dish hubcaps that was used on the car. I'll show you a picture here. These were the actual dog dish hubcaps that were used on the Monaco and Fury in 77 and 78, as well as many other cars as well as many other Dodges throughout the 70s and 80s. As you can tell, these here do not have the replicated vented hubs, which is not a terrible thing. Which, if you have a very tiny paintbrush and a very steady hand, you could probably add it. But they're not present on this particular replica. But again, it's not a terrible issue. The really cool thing, though, now I also kind of feel that the wheels on this particular car are just a tiny bit too wide. They look a bit too wide on this particular unit. Now, on Ecto 1, now they are the same tires that are on Ecto 1A, so you can kind of tell they're just a bit too wide. There should probably be a bit thinner on both cars, but again, it's not a terrible thing. But I do like how that the tires are underneath the wheel wells on both cars, and they're not protruding outward too far. So that's a realistic replica. So that's a realistic detail that I really admire. And it appears that the car is pretty level. Too many times people will do these cars, and the rear end sits way too low. This one actually appears to be pretty level, which is really good. Now, the only other nitpick that I have with this particular car is the Monaco and Fury both had a slope on the rear door. The rear door began to slope upward from the B pillar upward, and it curved along underneath the C pillar, or at least the paint did. This one right here, the paint is a bit too flat. The paint is a bit too flat on the C pillar here. It's not replicated, it's not curved like it should be to replicate a curve on the top of the fender like it should be, and the door doesn't appear to have the correct upward curve. It does have a bit, as you can tell here, but it doesn't really appear to have the upward curve that it should. It should have a bit more of an upward crease and slope, but overall it's not terrible. They did position the light bar in the correct position on the roof, starting from the B pillar. They didn't position it too far back, and it's not positioned too far forward. It is basically accurate. Again, I really like the detailing that they did with this, even the tiny detailing for the actual NYPD shield and lettering on the door, which is really, really well done. They did get the correct accuracy and everything put on it. And overall, I'm really honestly can say looks really, really well done. The paint is accurate. Well, the stripes are. Again, I do feel it's a bit too dark. It may look lighter here, but it does appear a bit too dark. But again, it really does look good. Now, of course, the Monaco does have an opening hood. I haven't opened it yet. But the thing that I like about this one is it does appear pretty much level and flat. It's not sticking up too far. And of course, the NYPD did have black interiors on their cars, so unfortunately this one is not painted tan, so you can't really make it out too well. But another thing that I like, as you can tell here, the roof has this nice curve on the back window. This was completely accurate to the Monaco and Fury back in 77 and in 78. I've seen people replicate these cars right here before, and they just made this completely flat. That's not accurate. This is completely curved, which is the way that it should be. So again, another really good thing with Johnny Lightning here that they did. And as I mentioned, tires are underneath the wheel wells. The width, overall size of the tires, I'd say is very accurately proportioned. Apart from the width, overall, the tires on both cars seem to be pretty accurately proportionally sized in terms of their overall size, except for the width. But overall, I gotta say, this looks really good. I'm actually very happy with it. I paid about $24 for this particular, about $25 for this particular one. And another detail to talk about here is the figurines. Now you've got the 4 Ghostbusters here, and these are not 100% fully detailed. You can make out some of the characters' features, but these are really tiny, so they're not going to have a whole lot of detail. Now, of course, these figurines are more or less an aesthetic function and aesthetic purpose. They are not the main highlight of this set. The cars are the main highlight. But again, the figurines are a nice touch. And I gotta say, they don't look that bad. They're not 100% detailed as if you would have another figurine from another set. But they did get the colors accurate for the characters, and they did a really good job with the character moldings, and they do have different positions. Another tiny detail, it's hard to make out, but you kind of can see the tiny little Ghostbusters emblem as a patch on their shirts, on their sleeves rather. Looks really good. They did a good job with that. It does look good. And again, molded, the size is accurate to the vehicles as well to replicate a nice accurate size with the character's dimensions. They did a pretty good job with that. Now, as far as the packaging, the vehicles come on this little cardboard base, and they are strapped down with these ties. They're tied down with these ties. You basically have to take this apart to be able to get them. Pardon me. You basically have to take this apart to get them to get the cars off the base. But the cars come on this. Pardon me. The cars come on this nice little base. Now the box itself features this cardboard insert with features this nice insert in the background with a scene. And the lasers in the background. It features Ghostbusters. Now it says Ghostbusters up here, but this is actually supposed to be from Ghostbusters 2. And again, brand new for 2017, the Silver Screen Edition, twin pack. Now the back of it doesn't really have anything about the movie itself. It features some pictures of the characters. There is the Christine version available with Christine herself and the 67 Camaro. And believe it or not, Johnny Lightning does still have the collector club going on, so you can join yourself. So join up. And it also says this nice little thing right here about the dioramas that are coming out. But that's pretty much about it. But again, it's got the hanging thing, so I don't know if these would ever be available in stores for hanging. I've never seen them. The Walmart near me, there's no stores near me that would have these, and Walmart near me has Bubkus. But again, overall, I have to say this was really cute. It's a really nice display set. It's really, really well done. Now these are obviously, if you want a really realistic replica of Ecto 1A, I would definitely have to say that a 143, 124, or 118 scale replica would be a lot more realistic. And if you want a realistic replica of a Monaco, get a model kit and make it into an NYPD car, because there isn't an official one that exists. Greenlight has recently done an NYPD Fury, but I haven't got one yet to be able to verify which of these two cars are more accurate. But I gotta say, for $25, this is not a bad little set. It is very nicely detailed. It does replicate a good scene from the movie, and it also can work for the first film as well, if you want to pretend that. But again, it really does look good, and I'm very happy with it. It is a nice little display set, and it's cute, and it does make for a nice little set to display in a curio cabinet on a shelf or something. Really, really well done. But again, thank you guys again. Overall, I have to say, I would probably, overall, in terms of accuracy and detail and realism, I'm probably going to give this set a 4.5 out of 5. And the only reason I'm leaving, I'm going to give it a 4 to a 4.4 out of 5. The only reason I'm not giving it a full 5, again, is because of the slope in the hood for Ecto 1A, and the no curve right here on the rear door or the C-pillar. But again, overall, 4 to a 4.5. And again, it does really look good. I am very happy with it. And yeah, it was totally worth the price. It does make for a nice, really good collectible. And again, you can get it yourself. It is available now. You can definitely find it on eBay, and you can also find it probably at any other retailer that might have it. My retailer does not, but you can find it definitely on eBay. So again, thank you guys again for joining me. Hope you guys enjoyed, and hopefully I will see you guys in the next video that I do. Take care.